All right, this flipped math lesson is on 1-2, which is the order of operations. And we have two main objectives. First, you should be able to use the order of operations. And second, you should be able to use the graphing symbols that you're going to see. So those are what we're going to focus on today. Now, to begin, I have just something up here, 10 minus 1 times 7. And why don't you go ahead and solve that? However you want to solve it, just solve it right now. I'll wait. Or you could probably have paused me. But there's a couple different ways if you don't know the order of operations to solve this. Some people might have very well done 10 minus 1 times 7. Well, 10 minus 1 is 9, times 7 is 63. Some people would get the answer of 63. Other people might say, well, I don't want to do 10 minus 1 first. I want to do 1 times 7 and get, well, 10 minus 7, which is 3. So from these three numbers, we actually got two different answers. And in math, only one of those are correct. And this is where the order of operations comes into play, because we need to know how are we supposed to solve these problems so we don't have all these different answers. All right, and I'm going to tell you right here that actually 3 is the right answer because of the order of operations. And we're going to go over that now. Now, the order of operations, what is it? Well, it's basically just the order in which an expression is solved. So it tells you exactly how to solve it. You start with this, and you do this, and you do this, and so on. And there's 3 steps. First thing you do is work inside the parentheses. So if there are any parentheses or any sort of grouping symbols at all, so any parentheses, or sometimes you even see those brackets. Anything like that, you start there. You start within those grouping symbols. Then you multiply or you divide in order from left to right. All right. So basically then you start looking in as you'd read along. You start on the left side and you go to the right. Multiply or divide, whatever comes first. The number 3 here, you add or subtract in order again from left to right. All right, so those are the 3 main steps. And I know some parents, and I myself learned it this way, and then we had a cute little phrase, which was, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Again, that was supposed to help you keep in mind the order. P, parentheses, exponents, which we didn't quite get to in this one. We'll get to that later. My meaning multiply, D to divide, A is to add, S is to subtract, and so on. Those are the ways that we used to learn it. But really, it works if you just memorize these 3 steps. So again, I have that same problem. And we're going to solve it again, but just this time, let's make sure we're using the order of operations. And what I like to do is just work at the top. Start with number 1, and then just move down. So number 1 says, work inside the parentheses. Well, 10 minus 1 times 7, there are no parentheses. So if there are no parentheses, I skip that step. And I'll move right to number 2. Multiply or divide in order from left to right. Well, if I look at my operations, we're either subtracting or we're multiplying. So there's only multiply, so I must do that first. And I like to make these arrows going down. That way I make sure I know what numbers I'm multiplying, and it just keeps me organized. So 1 times 7 is 7. And then I'm going to carry down the rest of this. 10 minus 7. All right, and then I'd solve the next piece. Well, there's no more multiplication or division, so I must be at 3. Add or subtract in order from left to right. Well, 10 minus 7 is 3. That would be my answer, 3. So I believe I have another practice one, and this one says simplify, and again, that just means to solve 8 minus 2 times 2. So if we write this out, and we're going to solve this one together as well, I believe. All right, and again, I'd start at the top. 1, work inside the parentheses. Well, there are no parentheses, so I go to 2. Multiply or divide in order from left to right. Well, I have 8 minus 2 or 2 times 2. Well, that's multiplying, so I'm going to do 2 times 2 is 4, and rewrite the rest of it. The things that haven't had an arrow, those are what I write below. So I have 8 minus 4 now. There's no other multiplication or division. So now I move to step 3, add or subtract in order from left to right. Well, all that's left is 8 minus 4. So my answer should be 4. Now, I believe this next one is a little bit trickier. Yes, but you know what? I believe you can do it. What we have here is 12 divided by 3 minus 1 times 2 plus 1. And again, you need to use the order of operations. If you can't quite remember the order, I have it listed down here. Use it and go ahead and try to solve it now. All right, hopefully you had an opportunity to try to solve it. We're going to go ahead and just see if we have the same answer now. So, again, we look at number 1. Are there any parentheses? Well, I don't see any, so there must not be, so we move to 2. Multiply or divide in order from left to right. Now this time, here's division, here's multiplication. We have 2. We actually have to do 2 different things in this step too. But here's where we need to make sure we do this correctly. In here it says in order from left to right. So whatever one comes first, that's what you do. So here 12 divided by 3 comes before 1 times 2. So we start here. 12 divided by 3 is 4. And I'm going to rewrite the rest of the problem. Now that's what I have. 4 minus 1 times 2 plus 1. Well, looking at step 2, I still have multiplication. So I need to do that before I add or subtract, because that comes before adding or subtracting. Well, to multiply, I see 1 times 2. 1 times 2 is 2. And again, I'm going to rewrite the rest of it. So now I have 4 minus 2 plus 1. There's no more multiplying, there's no more dividing. So now I'm going to step 3, add or subtract in order from left to right. Well, there's subtraction and adding. So since there's both of them, you start and see what comes first. And 4 minus 2 comes before 2 plus 1, so we start there. 4 minus 2 is 2, and I rewrite the rest and get 2 plus 1. So that's the last thing to do. 2 plus 1 is 3. Our answer here for number 2 here is 3. All right, so now we have this one, and oh boy, they just keep getting a little more difficult. And it says simplify 20 minus 3 times the, sum 5 plus 2 minus 1. So you need to go ahead and solve this. And this is one where we actually have grouping signs. We actually have 2 pairs. All right, so we're going to solve this one together, or at least pieces of it. Number 1, work inside the parentheses. Here we actually have 2 different sets of parentheses or grouping symbols. We have the one in here, the 5 plus 2. And then we also have this one, 5 plus 2 minus 1. When you have something like this occur, you actually start inside with the parentheses. So here you'd actually do 5 plus 2 first. You need to find out what that is, and that is 7. So I'm going to rewrite 20 minus 3 times 7 minus 1. All right. And now we're just left with 1 set of parentheses. So we'd start there. And we do, 7 minus 1 is 6. All right. When you do this one now, we have 20 minus 3 times 6. All right. And what ends up happening here is whenever you have the bracket and the number on the outside, it means to multiply. So 3 times 6 is 18. And I'm going to rewrite it. 20 minus that 18, well, we're down to the 3rd step, add or subtract. We get 2. Our answer for this one is 2. All right, now we have a little matching piece here. Match each expression with the first step in simplifying the expression. So here, they have the beginning, and now just looking at the first step here, at this 3 times the sum, 4 plus 7 minus 5, you need to match it with the one that shows that was the first step, and so on. So I'm going to give you a chance to do that now. Why don't you just pause the video, and then when you're all done, go ahead and check to see if you got it right. All right. So hopefully you had a chance to match these, and we're going to go ahead and see what ones we got right. Well, on this first one, they have those parentheses. That's the first step. So you'd add those together first. 4 plus 7 is 11. So, is there one that looks like that? And yes, there is. That would be C. So here, the answer is C. Then we have B over here. And I'm going to move that recording. We have 3 times 4 plus 7 minus 5. Again, you go through those 3 steps. Well, there's really nothing in parentheses or brackets itself. When they have 3 and 4 like this, that just means to multiply. So we have 3 times 4 plus 7 minus 5. Well, if you go to step 2, that's when you multiply or divide. And there is multiplying going on. We have it here. 3 times 4 is 12 plus 7 minus 5. Oh, and that looks like that fits A. Then we have C. 3 times 4 plus the different 7 minus 5. So you go ahead and take a look. And again, 3 steps. You're going to find out what you start with parentheses. And again, 7 minus 5. There's work to be done here. So you'd start there and rewrite the rest. And you should have 3 times 4 plus 2, which is D. And then, of course, this last one must go to B, but we can double check it. We have 3 times 4 plus 7 minus 5. And in this one, we actually have a couple different things going on in these parentheses. When that happens, you just, well, go through the rest of the steps. There's no multiplication or division happening in there. So you're going to go down to step 3, adding or subtracting. And you do that from left to right. So we have 3 times the difference 11 minus 5. All right. Hopefully you had a chance to take a look and hopefully you got those right, because that would be your lesson. I look forward to seeing you in class tomorrow. Have a great night.